Hello, today we are affecting a video signal, this video signal, with a guitar pedal, a multi-effects unit. The reason we're using a multi-effects unit rather than pedals is because there are many more effects in here than I have access to, and also something really crucial that I hadn't even considered until I plugged this all in. Right now, you are seeing this video camera through the aux input. I have converted the little RCA composite video thing, you know, the yellow guy. I've converted the yellow guy into a mini jack that is going into the aux in. That is what you are seeing right now. And then the output is just the normal effect pedal output. I had assumed that if I just plugged in the into the input, you'd be able to see the pedal. But you cannot. You see this instead. And actually it's quite interesting because if I start pressing buttons, I do actually have a degree of control, well, a degree of control over what images occur. But I wanted to do this in such a way that you could actually see what was happening. So I have the actual input, which is the streaky lines that you're seeing, and I have the unaffected video as well. So, for example, I'm just going to start playing with effects, and you can see what effects I'm using. I'll talk you through it, and you can also see the visual effect it has on these streaky lines. So if I just use this as a volume pedal, you can see the lines disappear. Maybe that isn't surprising, considering that I guess it's just giving you less signal. What if I turn this into wah? Ooh, hello. So that's actually really cool. It does look a bit like, I guess, a spectrograph, maybe? Yeah, it just looks like we're filtering stuff out, which is very cool. That's the wah. The resonance effect is kind of a different version of the wah, also very cool. We have a voice effect. Ooh, same kind of deal, sort of. Ring mod is just doing utter chaos, but that's what a ring mod effect does, right? Just absolute chaos. Octave, so that would be down and up. Wow, it's doing some interesting stuff, isn't it? And then the octave in the other direction is doing the opposite. Very cool. So those are the expression effects. I guess then we just go through. What if I change the level? Yep, unsurprisingly, that is exactly the same as using the volume pedal. What if I add some reverb? So we've got some room, we got some hall, we got some spring, and we got some modulation reverb. Modulation reverb, hello. That's quite cool. Right, let's turn that off. What about the noise gate? Nothing. Maybe that isn't surprising. Compressor. I'm going to put the sustain about halfway and then pump the level. Ooh. That's interesting. We're getting lines. Maybe, again, this makes sense that it kind of acts a bit like a contrast. So what if I combine that with the mod reverb? Okay. What if I combine that, the mod reverb plus the ring mod? Right, we have some chaos, and actually it looks like it's affecting the underlying video layer. Yeah, I'm stuttering all over the place. Right, let's turn all of that off. And the sync is absolutely fine otherwise. We have some tone adjustments. I never really got the point of these when I use this as a guitar pedal. Like if I wanted something to sound like a hollow body or an acoustic, that's quite cool. You know, I'd just use those instruments, but whatever. Okay, so those are quite interesting. It's sort of doing a static version of what the wah effect was doing. But again, there is like a little bit of jankiness going on with the aux input, which I would have assumed would be unaffected. Overdrive. Let's turn drive all the way up. Let's turn bottom to about 50%, tone to about 50%, level all the way. Let's see that effect. Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to play with the drive. Again, it's kind of just distorting. Ooh, that's new. That is a new kind of distortion. Very interesting. It's basically just screwing with the sync in different ways. Let's try some of these different distortion. Hello. That's the OD2 preset. These are all like modeled on classic Boss effects, classic Boss distortions. Well, that one's quite profound. That is the rat, apparently. What if we do rat all the way? If we do rat all the way, the signal becomes incomprehensible. We even lose the background layer. If I unplug the aux, it makes no difference. So that's actually really interesting, to me, at least. Yeah, that's quite interesting. So that's distortion. Let's go into modulation. So we're starting out with chorus. I'm going to put the rate/key, the depth/harmony, and the level/resonance up about 50%. This is chorus. And that does kind of look like what a chorus effect would do. Stereo chorus should do much the same thing. That stereo chorus doesn't do anything. Phaser, that's quite cool. What if we boost the hello? We're going to boost the resonance. I'm going to turn down the rate/key, so it's going to be slower, but I've increased the depth and the resonance, so it should be slower but more profound. That's quite cool. Flanger, also very cool. Harmonist. Oh, again, that's affecting the aux layer. Interesting. Tremolo. Incredibly boring. Pan. I don't think we're working with a stereo signal here, so that shouldn't do anything. Vibrato, that's quite nice. And this is interesting, right? Because what I'm learning now is that we can generate visuals using guitar pedals, and I'm thinking in terms of like VJing and kind of using this in like a live music setup. It's making me think, okay, well, what if I get some guitar pedals and do like MIDI synchronization so everything's in time? That's where my brain's going with this. Rotary. It's actually one of my favorite effects to use on guitar. Hello. That's actually very cool. I really like that. That's the mod. And then delay. I'm expecting the delay to just sort of, I don't know, repeat some of these lines, I guess. Yeah, kinda. That's actually quite cool. And I would imagine if we were doing something like, oh, we've lost it. There we go. If we were doing something like with mirrors or with some colorized effects, you know, there's options to do some quite cool stuff here. So let me put the ring mod on as well. I'm just going to try and combine some stuff. The modulated reverb I was a big fan of. That's really cool. If I get rid of the aux layer, yeah, we just have some really interesting lines going on. I'm going to add this back in. Let's add some distortion, because the rat was doing some cool stuff. Hello. I mean, let's turn the master level up. You can't see what I'm doing, so I'm just going to try and audio describe it. So I'm going to move around the ring mod pedal. I'm going to turn on the mod. I think at this point it's diminishing returns. We're just going to get lines doing crazy stuff. So if I turn off the ring mod, maybe turn off the delay, pull back on the mod reverb. You know, there's some cool stuff in here. So this was really just an experiment. I just wanted to see what would happen if you put a video signal through a guitar pedal, and now we know. Knowledge is power, I think.